Hey everyone, and welcome to 1.21 Gigawatts. I am Peter, that is Matt, and we talk about movies on this show, new movies typically. And this episode, we are looking at Godzilla, King of the Monsters, which just came out this past week, and we're going to talk about it. So we'll start spoiler free, as we always do. We'll give you a warning before we get into spoilers somewhere in the middle.
Nope.
I won't get onto it, so. Yeah, premise is that, Ghidorah is around, and Godzilla needs to fight Ghidorah.
So at the end of the last one, it was kind of hinted at that there was more monsters. It's not just Godzilla, and that Godzilla is almost an antibody for like the Earth. Like you get a fever, right? There's a sickness. Godzilla is one of the things that helps. One of the things that helps like right things and balance it out. And they kind of said like, oh, he might not be the only one. Well, we learned in this one he's definitely not, and there's bigger ones, and oh man, let the fighting begin.
Yeah, there's a ton of monsters. Obviously, going into this one, it was exciting because this one has Godzilla, obviously, but it has Ghidorah, it has Rodan, and it has Mothra as kind of the big names from the original Godzilla series. So, I mean, I liked the 2014 movie. I mean, me and Connor watched it again a few weeks ago, and it pretty much held up. Like everything.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect movie, but everything I liked about it, I still really liked.
Yeah, it has some weird things to it that you're just like, okay, this is definitely... Is it Evans or Edwards? I forget which Gareth made that one.
Edwards.
Edwards? Okay. So yeah, definitely his movie. He definitely wanted to do a more in-tone to Gojira, much more of a disaster than a monsters fight movie. This is definitely much more of the legacy of Godzilla, I feel, of growing up and watching them when they were on the Sci-Fi Channel. And like as a kid, you just tune in to watch the monster fighting scenes. And that's perfectly okay. To me, that's what Godzilla is.
Yeah, that's kind of what this movie does. So one of the big complaints about the first one is that there was too many human stuff and not enough monsters. Although I appreciated the slow build in the first one, this one definitely is a lot more monster focused. And not to say that there isn't human characters. There is a decent amount of human characters, and they get a decent amount of time. But there is more monsters from very early on, and it kind of goes throughout. But yeah, so I'll ask the question, Matt. Did you enjoy Godzilla, King of the Monsters?
Oh yes, I did. Very much so.
Very much so. I liked it as well, and it's definitely getting a really mixed reaction online. Some people just think that the human characters are stupid and still take up too much time. I can't deny that some of the human plot is a bit of a mess, because it is.
No, big time.
It is.
Most of the stuff with Vera Farmiga, I was like, okay, let's get past this. But I really liked Kyle Chandler in Millie Bobby Brown. 11, as I kept waiting for her nose to start dripping at points, just because I can't get over that's 11. So I liked a lot of that stuff. I liked a lot of the stuff with Monarch, but the Vera Farmiga stuff it seemed half cooked. Like I'm sure there's a good story in there, and she can be a complex character. I just feel like dropped the ball with her.
It's just a very surface level motivation for her actions, which we can't really talk about too much until we get to spoilers, but that stuff was definitely, okay, that's what we're doing, all right. There's definitely a lot of cheesy one-liners, some of which made me chuckle because whatever, and some were just kind of like, okay, that was a bit much.
I love Bradley Whitford. That's what I feel that the first movie was kind of missing, was like a supporting cast for Aaron Taylor-Johnson. It was very singularly focused on him, right? This one I felt like I don't want to say too far in the opposite direction, but it did go. Like, we had a lot of supporting characters.
There's probably a little bit too many, though. There's like even some of the soldiers, we get to know their faces, and Thomas Middleditch's character. His character felt a bit just kind of superfluous. Like, he was there for a couple of jokes, and that was it. There's kind of an interesting cast here. Ziyi Zhang is in this movie, who is from Hero and House of Flying Daggers and a bunch of other Chinese films. She's got a small role in here. Ken Watanabe's back, as is Sally Hawkins, bizarrely. I was not expecting that. David Strathairn's back as well. He's like a Navy... I don't know what his rank is, but he's...
he's high up, though, because he commands a fleet.
Yeah, he's the Navy dude. And he was in the first movie, so there was a few characters back from the first one which I wasn't expecting, which was kind of nice. And then on top of that, Charles Dance plays the villain. He's like this rogue mercenary who's going around trying to like steal monster DNA and shit. So that's kind of your basic setup. I think the cast is pretty good. The faults I have with the human characters, for what I do have, don't really come down to who the cast are.
No,
I think they, for the most part, make the best of what they've got, and just kind of go with it. But it's definitely kind of rushed. It's definitely kind of messy in terms of what they're doing. It definitely feels more like one of the more fun but certainly goofier human plot Godzilla movies of the Japanese series. I was definitely feeling that vibe.
Okay.
Yeah. That said, there is some nice touches and references to the old films. I feel like this movie works better if you're a fan of the old movies.
Yeah.
Because there's some references to some plot devices from the old movies, some references to where certain things come from, and they're just little Easter eggs that are not like super important in the plot so much. But I'll talk about them more in spoilers again. As well.
It fills out the viewing. Whereas like my wife, who's not a big, like she came to see this because it's Godzilla and she wants to see Godzilla fight Ghidorah, right? But she's not going to pick up on some of the things with like Mothra and Rodan, right? That you or me would pick up on. And she still really enjoyed it. I mean, not as much as I did. So, but yeah, just big monsters. I saw early reviews of this came out, and someone compared it negatively to Kong Skull Island. And once I heard that, I was like, oh, okay, I know exactly what this is, and right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think this is better than Kong Skull Island. I think for all the faults the humans have, I think the human characters in this are better than the humans in Kong Skull Island, with the possible exception of what's his face from Kong?
What are you talking about? Loki?
No, the one likable character.
No, the pilot that was there.
Riley, John C. Reilly.
Yeah, John C. Reilly.
I have to think about his name there.
Gotcha.
He was kind of likable, but the human characters in Kong were just nothing. I mean, this doesn't have a whole lot in the human characters, but at least Bradley Whitford's funny. Eleven has a couple of little funny moments. There's more here than there was in that movie. Watanabe has a couple of nice touching moments. I will say there's actually like a weird thing that happens in the movie early on. Apparently there's a character death during one of the big like action scenes that I just didn't notice, because after that there's a small moment where they confirm a character's died, and I'm like, wait, what? Why did that? So I guess that's a critique of some messy editing there, possibly direction, but definitely editing.
Yeah, this movie's not perfect, but it's still a whole lot of fun, and it hits the spirit. And I end up forgetting about those things, and just can sit and enjoy it. But no, I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, the monsters, though, for the most part, are really good, and the fights look really good. There's so many moments in this where you could just pause it and take that as a wallpaper and be like, okay, that's my wallpaper now.
Yeah. And to come from the men in suits to this, like, I have to believe that the people that created Godzilla and Ghidorah, like, if they could see this, I'm sure they'd be big old stupid smiles, just like us.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
There's lots of things I like about this. Like, one of the things I loved about the first film was how Godzilla felt like a force of nature, and how like otherworldly he felt. Like we just couldn't comprehend what Godzilla is, and that's what it feels like when you're looking at him. That feeling is back here with him. Although, if I'm compared to the original, or I say the original, the previous film, I do think that film's better directed in the sense that Godzilla does have that feeling every time he appears. Well, there's a little bit of it here. It doesn't have quite the same kind of ethereal, like, awe-inspiring kind of like, magic to it. That said, though, I do love that Ghidorah literally kind of creates a storm around him wherever he goes. Like, there's like, it's just all this lightning and like all these dark clouds, and it feels like, like hell is coming to town.
Same with Rodan. Like, when Rodan makes the appearance, it's a natural disaster, like, so I thought that was pretty cool too. Like, they really kind of upped and showed how they were different from Godzilla. Oh yeah. And I do appreciate that. Yeah.
One thing I really want to talk about is the score by Bear McCreary. because I was like hoping before the movie came out, I was like, yeah, the one thing the last one could have used is the theme, like I that final shot is perfect in the original, the last film. I keep saying the original, it's not the original, you know what I mean?
No.
Where Godzilla goes into the water, like I really wanted Godzilla's theme to kick in when it cut to the credits, and this movie, like I got released because I saw the movie like a week before the soundtrack came out. And I listened to the main title, and sure enough, it's the classic Godzilla theme that's used in this.
Yeah.
And that was really exciting. And it's used at a couple of key points in the movie that are really kind of like fist pumping, kind of like, yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
That's my boy. That's my big G right up there. And that got really exciting to me.
Yeah.
So I think like to kind of, and Bear McCreary is a composer I really like as well. Like he's done Battlestar Galactica, he's been doing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. since that started, and really really good music from him. Most recently did the God of War video game, which got a lot of praise for its music.
The last one?
Yeah, the one that you should be playing.
Yes. I have that queued up for the summer. So yeah, to kind of sum up. Oh, 1 second.
There's a kaiju fight going on in Matt's house apparently.
That's what happens when you have the house to yourself.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's not to yourself anymore.
Yes, I was just saying we've got a canine kaiju fight happening downstairs.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
But yeah, to kind of sum up, before we get into spoilers, I guess to sum up, I would say that the opinions on this are very mixed, and it reminds me a lot of my love for Pacific Rim 2. Where that movie did not review well, and a lot of people thought it was dumb. Oh. But for my taste, it was hitting all these marks that I really liked.
Yeah. And I love how in Pacific Rim 2, in the last act, it unapologetically becomes Power Rangers.
Oh yeah, it does. It so does.
And this one, I don't say the same way because it's like this all the way through. This is unapologetically a Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
Like it, and how we know it, and I kind of like how it fits in with that. With even the first one of this series, is that felt very much like a message movie, kind of like Gojira did. This is what happens with nuclear war. And on this one, it was kind of like the climate and whatnot. And this is what happens when you stir with things that you shouldn't be. And then they kind of get more fun as they go. And that's how I feel with Skull Island and now this. They follow that same path, which I appreciate.
Yeah, no, I like this one. I thought I definitely think it's better than Skull Island. I mean, I don't want to upset Matt here, but I think Skull Island.
No, that's fine. I have an unnatural love of that movie.
Yeah.
And there's parts in this where I kept nudging my wife, and she kept going, "Yes, I see." Yes, they mentioned Skull Island. Okay, calm down. So
I guess what I'm saying is that like, yeah, I think a large portion of people will hate this movie. I think people who don't care about Godzilla, I think if you have an affinity for Godzilla, the classic movies, you're going to get a lot more out of this. Or you're interested in them, you'll get a lot more out of this. I think if you're someone who does come in expecting like a good human story with like good writing, you're not going to get that. And I can't defend that and say that like it's necessarily forgivable per se, but for what I think a lot of fans wanted this movie to be, it kind of delivers on that. I guess the one disappointment I would have, and this goes both compared to the first film and the trailers for this one, is it doesn't feel quite as, like I say, ethereal and magical as the first film, and even that first trailer for this one did, where it feels like you're in awe of like everything that's happening. It doesn't really quite feel like that. It feels more kind of straightforward on a kind of action level of like, Godzilla like fights something early on, kind of gets his ass kicked, and then it's like, okay, it's a comeback story, like like it's.
Yeah, and if you want to see something that's bad, that's kind of in this tone, it's last year's Rampage.
Like, oh yeah, Rampage was garbage. Yeah.
Yeah, and it like, as much as I want to see big creatures knocking down buildings and fighting each other, that just misses the mark completely with everything. Whereas I feel like here, say what you will about some of the plot and the characters and whatnot, it's still a decent movie. Like it's, I want to see it again. Like I'm trying to plot out my week so I can go see this in theaters again. So. Oh
yeah. So we'll give you the spoiler warning. Full spoilers for Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and so Vera Farmiga turns out to be a villain fairly early on, and I'm glad she did actually, because there's the moment where like, okay, they think they've been kidnapped by Charles Dance and the evil mercenaries, and Chandler, like, goes down to get his daughter because they're separated because they lost a son in 2014 when the Godzilla attack had happened in
San Francisco.
In San Francisco, and he blames Godzilla. He's got this Godzilla vendetta, even though Godzilla was there to save the day. But whatever, Kyle, whatever.
No, yeah, you understand his grief because he lost a kid, uncontrolled because of this gigantic lizard. So,
but he goes there to try and like save his wife and daughter, specifically his daughter. And Vera Farmiga makes this choice to use the charges because they're in Antarctica for this point, because they come and get them when they're basically waking up Mothra, and she's got this MacGuffin, which is that's what I'm going to call it.
It's called the Orca.
Yeah.
And what it does is they found out a way to communicate with these Titans. That's what they're calling the big monsters, and it works off of their bio sounds, right? So it's kind of, it's almost like whale song, and that's Kyle Chandler brings up that they developed this to keep whales from beaching themselves. So they would put it out, and send these sounds out to the oceans, and then she figured out that you could adjust it to almost communicate with the Titans.
Yeah.
So, it's a really cool MacGuffin. I love the idea of it. Like, you're much more schooled in Godzilla lore than I am. This is like the first time something like this, right? Like,
I don't recall it from what I've seen. Having a device to communicate with them outside of Mothra, because Mothra has the twins that can talk to her. But so this is like the waking of Mothra before the cocoon, before the metamorphosis into like full blown Mothra. But
it's a larva.
Yeah. So they go to Antarctica because this criminal element are looking for specific Titans, and they go to Antarctica, and Kel Chandler's on their big fancy ship now at this point. They've recruited them in to help find and whatever.
Argo.
Yeah.
Like there's so many fun little references in the script like that to like the big ship's called the Argo. Back to mythology and whatnot. But yeah, so they're heading down to Antarctica.
Yeah, and we should point out it's a plane, it's not a ship. I keep saying ship because it reminds me more of a spaceship than it does anything else. But
yeah, well, it looks like one of these, like a big, like an extra large stealth bomber. Like it's almost like but it's bigger than that because it's
got a bridge,
a command center.
Yeah, it's got like a full bridge where there's people at computers and shit. Like it's a full thing. But yeah, so they're going to Antarctica, and as soon as someone mentions that, like the people who are in Monarch, which is Watanabe's character and Sally Hawkins, are like, shit, Antarctica? Oh, he's going after Monster Zero, and I'm like, I geeked out at the name of Monster Zero, because Monster Zero, if you don't know, is the movie that came after Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, in the original Japanese movies was called. So a lot of these have two titles, these movies, and the main title that I know it by is Invasion of the Astro Monster, but the alternate title is Godzilla vs. Monster Zero. And the twist in that movie, so spoilers for this movie, but I mean, it's hard not to know this now if you know the movies, is that Monster Zero, because the aliens are like, nah, we've got a monster to fight Godzilla, but the twist is that it's just Ghidorah, right? So the fact that their codename here for Ghidorah is Monster Zero really put a smile on my face. It was a really nice little reference, and that was kind of cool. And obviously, eventually, they realised that the name is Ghidorah. Local legends call it Ghidorah. What's really cool here, though, is as much as I hated kind of the motivations for Vera Farmiga, which were, we're going to release the Titans because we've ruined the planet, and after the Titans go through an area, it flourishes with life. If you look at San Francisco now after the Mutos and Godzilla, it's all green and there's wildlife and it's thriving.
I take a bit of umbrage when they show Vegas, and I was like, bull crap. We've been knocking stuff down for years. We would have had that rebuilt within 6 months. Let's play into reality a little bit here.
Yeah.
But no, I like it because she compares it to a forest fire. So a forest fire can be good, because it comes through, revitalizes the soil, and you end up getting a more healthy forest.
Yeah. This is a stupid ass plan because it involves the death of at least half the population of the planet. She's basically Thanosing the planet with this stupid plan.
Well, and then you have Charles Dance basically as Ra's al Ghul because he's an eco-terrorist.
Yes.
That he's all about this, and he actually wants to weaponize the Titan DNA in order to facilitate this, whereas hers goes a little bit farther and be like, well, no, just let him out and see what happens.
So I hate all this. All this is a garbage plan. It's garbage motivation. It's like there's such an awkward like scene like. But they don't realize that she's turned yet, that she's a villain, and she calls them on like she does like a video phone call over Skype or whatever, and she has like a 3-minute scene just explaining her stupid plan, and it's so tedious and long. And not only that, this is something that's a pet peeve of mine. She actually has footage that comes up like over her face, like she's edited like a B-roll for this like.
And she's got
monologue.
this ready to go.
Yeah. Like because
the TED Talk.
The other movie that bugged me with this actually, and I complained about it in the review, was Logan, where at one point Logan in that movie like got like a laptop or like a video file on the phone, and it was explaining like the hospital that X-23 came from, but it was intercut with all this footage while this woman was talking and explaining. I'm like, who edited this? Who put this little package together? This is the same thing here. There's like clips of like the various kaiju sightings from before, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, stop this. Anyway, the thing I like about this though, what it leads to, is that her plan, even though it was terrible anyway, fails and is starting to go wrong because what they didn't realize before they did this is that Ghidorah is not a natural titan to Earth. Ghidorah comes from somewhere else. So even though they don't go super deep into it, they confirm that Ghidorah comes from another planet. He comes from space, which is traditional Ghidorah. He is an alien, and I'm like, yes, I love that they put that in there, and I love that. Okay, because he's not a natural titan, instead of balancing the Earth out, he's actually going to, terraform it. He's going to terraform it and turn it into like his planet, essentially. Right. And the only hope they've got, because all the other kaiju start worshipping him and kind of follow his orders. He's the alpha, yeah. Except Mothra, who's still good, and of course Godzilla, who's the only kaiju big enough who might be able to take him out, who might be able to fight him.
Oh.
So
yeah, that showdown scene early in the movie when it's the first time we see Godzilla fight Ghidorah in Antarctica. Oh man.
Yeah, because Godzilla powers up his atomic blast and he misses Ghidorah, like he just misses him, and then Ghidorah hits him with the triple lightning blast, and it's just like shit.
It's so good. Like I'm getting excited just thinking about it.
Yeah,
and just the design of Ghidorah too, because he's always been bigger than Godzilla, right? Because it was like a multi-man in a suit, because the 3 heads and But they did this to like the nth degree, like his wings and the 3 heads, and each of the heads seem distinct, like and then when he does the lightning thing, like hooey.
Oh yeah, it's not shying away from what Ghidorah is. It's like full on Ghidorah, and like the fight scene is really cool. And the kaiju fights typically are good in this. So basically though, like they're waking up more kaiju, and because Ghidorah's out there like making a call out, it wakes up Rodan, and we get this section of the movie where it's in Mexico. It's just in Mexico,
it's Isla de Mara.
Yeah, and they're trying to evacuate the city, but Rodan, when he wakes up, when he flies over the city, you can actually see a shot of this in the trailer. He had the power from his wings flying over the city is so powerful that it's basically like gale force hurricane winds like hitting the buildings, and they're all just kind of like taking the impact of this. It really makes Rodan feel powerful. So Rodan's in play, and they're tracking Ghidorah. They've got this. They were thinking about nuking him, and then the Navy's like, no, we've got this oxygen destroyer, which again, it's a reference. The oxygen destroyer is actually the weapon they used to try and kill Godzilla in the first Godzilla movie, in the original Godzilla movie. So that was another neat like callback that was really cool. So even though Watanabe and everyone is like pleading like, no, don't do this, like he's our only chance, like don't do this, you're going to kill Godzilla, and Ghidorah doesn't even get phased. Ghidorah just like flies off, he's fine.
And the oxygen destroyer kills all of the fish. Like,
all the fish are dead.
So they made the problem even worse, by trying to do this and actually injure Godzilla, like so he's kind of injured from fighting already. Which led to this really cool part where we see Godzilla's lair.
We'll get to that in a minute. But before we do though, I want to talk about because there's some really cool chase stuff here where they're actually trying to fight Rodan and
with the jets.
Yeah, and the jets are just getting taken out one at a time. Like the main like big like plane they're on barely survives. Yeah, like the Rodan's just, and I love how big he is because the claws are just like crushing the planes. He's just grabbing the planes with his claw, and that's it. It's so good. I love that stuff. But yeah, so before we go into the next section of the movie where they have to go and resuscitate Godzilla, I want to talk about the fact that Sally Hawkins is already dead, and I never saw this happen. Like, it apparently happened on Antarctica when the Godzilla the Godzilla Ghidorah fight was happening.
Right.
But like, I never saw it. It was just there was a shot after it where like Watanabe's just sitting at the computer looking at her photo, and I'm like, wait, did she die?
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, it's very unceremonious. Like, you don't even see her like try to make it off of an ice ledge, and fall into a chasm and whatnot. Like, and then there was a number of times I thought the soldier played by Osei Jackson, and I never got his name. I thought there was a number of times where he was gone, and then he'd show back up in the next scene.
Yeah, he kept just appearing. He's like the most invincible person in this movie. He just keeps popping back up.
So
yeah, no, that's a fair point. But basically, it's like, okay, we have to try and find Godzilla because maybe he's still alive. Like, maybe because they think he's dead for a little bit. And they eventually, there's these underground caverns that he goes into. Maybe we can find him. And it's like, no, the radiation's too much. We can't go in. But Watanabe's like, no, what if we give him a blast of radiation? What if we give him a nuke? We blast him in the face with a nuke and that'll wake him up. And it's like, well, whoever goes in there is going to die because of the radiation. So Watanabe's like, I'll do it. So he goes in there and Godzilla's lying there. Godzilla's kind of awake, but he's lying there, and he actually, after he sets the nuke off, the mechanical nuke, he goes up and he touches his nose, and he's like, "Goodbye, my old friend." And I'm like,
I'm not saying it got dusty, but it might got a little dusty at that, because, oh man, because this is a guy that in the first movie he's bound and determined that Godzilla exists and stuff, and then the Mutos come out. But you could just tell the reverence that I gotta look at his name to say it. Shirazawa is Watanabe's name. He has this reverence for him, and he even brings up early on in the movie about like these are animals, right? But they're also gods, and they should be revered, and we don't need to treat them like pests. They're just doing their job. So to see him go in there and see Godzilla on the ropes, right? Needed a nap, and he lets him get up close, because they even say that it's like, well, he'll heal himself and whatnot, but it's going to take a couple years, because of the damage. So this is just going to facilitate that, and yeah, oh man, when he says goodbye. Yeah,
no, it's a fun scene. It's not actually the best kind of scene like this, but it's definitely, it works well enough. And we forgot to mention, there's a scene earlier on actually where Godzilla swims in front of their underwater base and kind of eyes up Chandler almost, and everyone like backs down, and like, so the reason why I bring that up though is because this next bit, which may be my favorite moment in the whole movie, is when Godzilla rises out of the water to his theme. It's like da-na-na, 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 and it's this great moment, but it does the harsh bit of the theme at the edge, like dan 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 dan, like, and he's kind of looking down at them, and it's like, everyone's like, no, stand down, don't be a threat. And even though it doesn't necessarily go super into it, I kind of felt like he was actually focusing on Chandler, because he could sense that Chandler wanted to kill him, and it was like, and this was almost like the scene where they make up, where Chandler kind of makes it clear that he's over it and he's not going to like do anything.
Well, we see that Chandler was working around wolves, right? So he understands this alpha, pyramid of like pack-minded animals. Because he even talks about he worked around like dolphins and killer whales and stuff too. So he understands this, and at this point is, well, you need a new alpha to come in to take out Ghidorah, and the only one of this level is Godzilla. So this is almost like, I don't want to say, because it's not telepathic or anything silly like that, but there is an understanding reach between them. Chandler was like, I was wrong. I apologize. Go do your stuff, big guy. Yeah,
no one says anything. It's just this look. But you get the feeling that it's specifically about him. It's not about everyone else in the ship. It's about him. And it's just like, okay, there's an understanding here. So as this is all going on, Millie Bobby Brown, 11, is not happy with what her mother's doing. She thinks it's awful that all these people are dying. And she decides to steal the Orca, and she runs out. She goes, because they're in Boston at this point, which is where the family used to live, and she goes to the Fenway Park, and
which I was wondering if the director, Michael Dougherty, is a Red Sox fan. After what happens to Fenway Park, I'm pretty sure he is not. Because there's no way, if you have any type of fandom for that team, you allow that to happen.
Yeah, so she goes there to kind of lure in Ghidorah, kind of everything, but yeah, Ghidorah especially. And you know, she's there, and then obviously when Ghidorah shows up, it gets really scary, and she's like, "Oh shit!" And that's when she's, you know, that's a scene from the trailer where she's running from all the lightning going through the windows and all that shit. And she's, you know, she's out in the rain, and I got really excited because I knew that the shot of her like turning around and smiling in the rain was coming up. So I was just like, okay, Big G's coming in, happening any second now. And sure enough, you know, Atomic Blast comes in, Godzilla's there, and it's like a one-on-one thing. Not to discount the fact that Mothra and Rodan eventually show up, because Rodan shows up and it's 2-on-1. Godzilla's getting his ass kicked, and then out of nowhere, Mothra like comes through the beam of light from the clouds, and you know, webs.
She's so bright that you can't look at her. It's a really cool effect.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning, like Mothra, of course, is what led them to Godzilla. You know, Godzilla's resting place, but Mothra is what led them to him. And she shows up, and we kind of have the twins in the movie, like Zhang Ziyi's character. We see photos of her since she's a twin, and this is something that's passed down through her family. It doesn't do the thing with her where she like sings to Mothra, although the tune of Mothra's songs in the score, like you do hear it.
Yeah.
So
and I like that too, that it plays with like she's third generation monarch by this point.
Yeah.
You know, so they've been dealing with this stuff since forever. But I like that. But no, Mothra comes in, and they mention that if Godzilla's the king of the monsters, she's the queen. And, you know, Mothra was always played as like a hero. Like with Godzilla, it kind of came later. You know, like, yeah, he'll save the day, but he's also going to destroy some stuff. But Mothra, with the exception of the first movie, is always kind of the hero. So I like that they played up that dynamic where, she's playing up the protector.
Yeah, she's not affected by Ghidorah like the other kaiju are. No. She's on Godzilla's side here, and no, she has a fight with Rodan, and it's a really fun fight. You know, it adds this other dynamic where you've got Godzilla and Ghidorah fighting, and we've got granitic buildings, we've got atomic blast, and then eventually, although I do want to mention, I hated the joke about like if she's the queen of the monsters, does that mean Godzilla and Mothra have been at it? Like that was a stupid joke. Like that could have they could have cut that.
Someone should have looked at the guy and went, just stop.
Yeah.
You know,
because Bradley Whitford's got a couple of lines that I actually quite like and quite think are funny. Because at one point when they see Godzilla when he comes back out of the water and he looks bigger and he's more nastier, he shouts out like Serizawa, just that lizard, and I thought, okay, that amused me.
That
amused me.
Well, yeah, and I like when Godzilla comes out and he's all glowing, right? Because he's got all the radiation, and he looks like he's been pumped up on something. Like, oh man, but yeah, it's super cool because when he starts stomping into Boston, and he gets to Fenway to fight Ghidorah. Also, in the Antarctica fight, we didn't talk about how the cards are kind of stacked against Godzilla because he tears off one of Ghidorah's heads, right? And he's carrying it like a trophy, and Ghidorah just grows another one, like it's nothing. And I was like, oh damn! Like, how's Godzilla gonna win?
Yep.
Which I thought, I know he's the main character, and I know at the end of the movie it's probably gonna end in his favor, but like it made me wonder, like, how is he gonna overcome this? And it was a very wrestling type thing because I felt like Godzilla coming in was like stone cold. The music hits, the glass breaks, right? And he comes stomping on in to drop stunners on Ghidorah, all three heads.
Yeah, all three heads. So there's a lot of fun fight, and then eventually, like, I mean, during all the fighting here, there's like a plot where the parents are looking for Millie Bobby Brown, who's ran away back to her house, and but like, so that's all going on, and that gives you some human action to mix in with everything else. But it's all about the monsters, and Godzilla eventually starts like, it's like, okay, Godzilla's going to like detonate like a nuclear bomb soon because he's so he actually starts doing this thing where it sounds like the sound effect sounds like the atomic breath, but instead of blasting out of his mouth, he's just doing this shockwave all around him of like atomic energy.
It's so cool.
Yeah. So he's doing that. When he detonates, there's this great thing where it does this fake out when it comes back, where you see one of Ghidorah's heads kind of flapping around through the smoke, and then it comes out, and you realize, no, this is just his head coming out of Godzilla's mouth, and then Godzilla atomic blasts it out of his mouth, and it's glorious. And then the movie ends with like all the other kaiju in the movie like bowing down before Godzilla.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing that got me is when Ghidorah picks him up.
Oh yeah.
Right? And he takes him up and then he drops him, and you're like, oh crap! Like,
oh, that's a great moment.
What the hell? Yeah, it's really, really good. But yeah, when he finally detonates, and it's like he activated his special, and he just starts going after Ghidorah. Oh man, yeah, Ghidorah was a great villain for this. Like, and that shot him in the ice at first. So you wonder how Godzilla got him down into the ice the last time. You know what I mean? To lock him there, and now he's like, I got to get rid of him for reals. So yeah, and there's hints throughout to Kong, right? They keep name checking Skull Island.
Yeah.
You see some of the native art from Skull Island, like that really cool 3D that you look head on of Kong and whatnot. And you keep seeing it pop up as like a kaiju site, or a creature site.
Yeah, they mentioned it a couple of times, and I did question though, why doesn't Kong leave the? Can he not swim? Is that the problem?
Well, no, okay. I mean, already, gorillas aren't really big fans of water. It's one of their innate fears. So, but on the same time, part of me is gonna think like he doesn't respect the whole idea of the alpha. So that's where his issue with Godzilla is gonna come in.
So there's one line at the end here which I thought really worried me, because someone says, "Oh, thank God he's on our side," and then like the soldier lady was like, at least for now," and I'm like, "You better not be hinting that he's the villain in Kong vs Godzilla. I'm going to be pissed if Zilla's portrayed to be the bad guy. I'm not having that."
Well, so they kind of also hint up that so the movie ends and whatnot. Vera Farmiga sacrifices herself.
Yes.
To kind of get. She has the orca, right? Is that
she basically saves Godzilla because she uses the orca to attract Ghidorah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so lets him get up and whatnot, and she ends up sacrificing herself, and Godzilla ends up winning, but Kyle Chandler is gonna hang on with Monarch and whatnot, and so at the end of the movie we get all of these like almost news clips of stuff that's going on that's almost setting the scene for the next movie. And they say that all of the Titans are heading towards Skull Island.
Yeah.
And they don't know why.
So we're doing like a Monster Island thing.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder if the reason that Kong didn't show up, if it's not that he disrespects the whole idea of an alpha, but there's a bigger threat on Skull Island, and that's why he's there. It's like the crawler times 10 or whatever.
Maybe
keeping it at bay, and that's why those apes were there, because we don't see anything else that kind of resembles, like Godzilla looks like a dinosaur, right? And Ghidorah looks like a dragon. Mothra's a moth, but the other ones that come out, kind of these newer ones that they created for the movie, just seem like monsters. They don't seem like actual animals. So it just makes me wonder if there's a thing going on there.
Well, one was because the one was like a woolly mammoth, just huge.
Yeah, but the way it walked was kind of like a gorilla too. Like it had these big arms, and that one was called Behemoth because I looked that one up. There's also one in Australia called Bunyip, which Bunyip is a Australian cryptid, and it, depending on how it looks, it depends where you're at in Australia.
Should have been a giant kangaroo. That's all I'm saying.
Or that, or a gigantic crocodile. Like,
oh sure,
I feel like Rampage kind of wasted that concept, because I know from being the biological kind of science nerd that I am, there was a gigantic crocodile during the dinosaur era that would eat T-Rexes. So think what you know about T-Rex, and know that there was something that I don't want to say predates, but you know what I mean. It would go after them. So there's stuff to work with there.
But the post-credit scene we need to mention. Charles Dance is still around. The villain gets no comeuppance, and he actually gets the head of Ghidorah, one of the heads, and that's kind of the post-credit scene. And I don't know what this is hinting at, because I have to imagine this is setting something up for Godzilla versus King Kong. And maybe I'm making a leap here, but I'm wondering if the final villain that Kong and Godzilla team up, because I'm assuming that they'll fight for a bit, but then they'll team up to fight the big villain, right? I'm assuming that's going to happen. So my thinking, this post-credit scene seems to indicate to me that we might get Mecha King Ghidorah.
That's what I thought too. When I saw the head sitting there, he goes, this fisherman says that, since they detonated the oxygen device, there's no fishing. So he just kind of trawls for salvage now, and his nets caught this thing up, and you see it just sitting there strung up, and Charles Dance smiles. And when we know that he's part of whatever eco-terrorist group, they have some means, right? Because they seem to get around okay. And it just makes me wonder if that's the reason they were messing with the monster DNA. They were trying to create their own.
Yeah, very possibly. And I think, I don't know, this was what my mind went to. They've got a part of Ghidorah, they're going to make Mecha King Ghidorah. That is what I was thinking. So we'll see if that turns out to be the case. Yeah, I'm curious to see what the next one is. As much as it's called Godzilla versus King Kong, I'm expecting to see a lot of the other monsters again. Like, I'm expecting to see Mothra and Rodan and whoever, and whoever the big villain is going to be. But because I'm expecting a villain, I'm expecting, okay, Godzilla and King Kong will fight for X amount of time, but ultimately they're going to team up to take on whatever the big bad is, and maybe that's going to be Mecha King Ghidorah. In fact, I wonder, are these bad guys going to build Mecha Godzilla? Is that going to be a thing? Are we going to see Mecha Godzilla?
That could be. Yeah.
I don't
know. Do you know who's directing Kong versus Godzilla?
Not off the top of my head. Who is it?
He directed You're Next and The Guest.
Oh,
His name's Adam Wingard.
Adam Wingard, yeah. I like him.
So they're getting some. Michael Dougherty did Krampus and Trick or Treat. And then Kong Skull Island was I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he's doing Metal Gear next. So they're pulling these younger directors that they all have a different style, which I think is okay. Because I like that this felt different than both Godzilla and Kong Skull Island. This was a little bit closer to Skull Island with its pulpiness, but it's not nearly as pulp as Skull Island was. But yeah, I am very excited because so far that's 3 good movies in the series, and I feel that's rare anymore.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is that the money that this is making so far, it hasn't been too hot. Although internationally it might make up to a decent amount. But we know we have the next one guaranteed because the next one's already been shot. So we're definitely getting the next one. And we'll see if it we'll see what it does. But yeah, because it's won the weekend, but not by like a huge amount. Like Aladdin's actually not that much lower than it.
Yeah, well, when we have people like my sister-in-law going and seeing Aladdin 3 times for no reason, it's but again, that makes me sound bitter. I'm not. I did my niece to tell me that she didn't want to see this, and I was like, haven't you watched Power Rangers with your dad since you were real little? This movie you would enjoy. All right, let's chill. You've seen Aladdin twice already. Go see Godzilla.
Yeah. So no, I mean I had a lot of fun with the movie. I mean, it definitely falls into what a lot of these Godzilla sequels do in the sense that, the human story is just kind of whatever, right? It's there to facilitate what's going on and nothing more. But the Godzilla stuff itself, and much like the first movie, I'm here to root for Godzilla. That's what I'm here for, and to an extent, Mothra. So I wonder who else we get in the next one. Who the villain's going to be. I'm deeply curious. But I love the music. I love the score. I love the visuals of the monsters fighting. And the humans didn't all necessarily annoy me. There was a couple of dumb jokes that I didn't like, but
Coach Taylor is very Coach Taylor in this. So that cracked me up in the very beginning. Kyle Chandler, I'm just like, I know he's a multifaceted actor, but just seeing him be the put upon dad that's all stressed out over things, so I was happy to see him. It's been too long since I've seen a movie where he had a good meaty role, because he's kind of just been showing up in like supporting stuff, or he was on that Netflix show that I watched an episode of.
Bloodlines.
Bloodline, yeah. which that's got a pretty good cast. I just couldn't get into it. So, but yeah, Charles Dance, good mustache twirling villain. He kind of chews the scenery. Doesn't do much though. Vera Farmiga is the de facto villain.
I think he's
after Ghidorah, of course.
Yeah, he's kind of wasted, but I wonder if they've got plans from the next one, and that's why he's been set up in this film. Yeah. Ghidorah's the villain, and Ghidorah's a great villain. Godzilla's a great hero. That's what's important in this, and that's the stuff that works. I like the monster fights, and it has a lot of monster fights. So
yes, it does, and they're all good too. It's not like that was not my main problem, because I understood what they were doing in that first one, but I felt like that last monster fight is really good, but that's the one that we get in the first Godzilla. And here, they're sprinkled throughout as there's more creatures and whatnot. So, but no, again, this is 3 really good movies so far. And if it's building to Kong versus Godzilla and it's going to be that good, then I'm here for it.
I mean, I don't know if I agree with 3 really good movies necessarily. I don't know if I agree with that statement. But... yeah, but so yeah, we should rate Godzilla King of the Monsters. What you giving it?
Oh, I'm giving it a 9.
A 9?
A 9. I really enjoyed it.
Oof. I thought I was being over generous, tempted to give it an 8. I'm maybe going to go with 7.5. No, 7.5.
You know,
I'll go with my heart. I'll say 8. But it's got a lot of problems. I as someone who talks a lot about filmmaking, it does have a lot of problems. It does. Yeah. The script is.
We have a lot of good movies coming out still, but when we do the year end, I have the Kong Skull Island spot, and I'm curious to see if this pops up there or if it's higher, depending on where the rest of the movies go this year.
We'll see.
We do got another Star Wars. Endgame's pretty high still. So right now, Godzilla King of the Monsters is sitting up there. So hoo-wee.
I don't even know what my top 10 will look like, because most of the films that will be in my top 10, I don't even know they exist yet.
You haven't seen yet. Yeah.
They usually sneak up on me throughout the year. But we do have a new Tarantino movie, which I expect might rank quite highly.
That might rank high too, yeah.
So we'll see. But no, that is Godzilla King of the Monsters. This has been 1.21 gigawatts. By all means, let us know what you think of the movie in the comments below. I suspect a lot of you probably hated it, and that's okay. But do that. Like, subscribe, usual stuff. You can support us, of course, on your podcast app. If you're on iTunes or whatever, you give us a 5-star rating and review. It helps spread the show out to more people. You can, of course, support us financially over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You can support us for as little as $1 per month, and you can get bonus episodes of certain shows that we do and some early content, as well as some other stuff in the higher tiers. And if I'm going to promote other stuff that we do, if you like us talking about movies, we've got a couple of movie shows. We have Screams After Midnight, which is a horror movie podcast, which I do with Tim. And then we also have the Atomic Cinema Experiment podcast, which is a sci-fi movie podcast that I do with Tara. So if you want more movie review content, go check out those. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching movies, guys. And if you can get it, it's always nice to have diplomatic immunity.